A mysterious specter dwelling on the boundaries between the known and the forbidden, the sacred and profane, is the entity Lilith. She was by no means a goddess, nor a mortal. She echoed humanity's deepest fears, a nocturnal spirit associated with seduction and chaos. During the Bronze Age, Mesopotamian people saw her as a figure who challenged the boundaries of the settled order and embodied the uncontrollable forces of a natural world. But who was the Lilith of Mesopotamian mythology? An entity that pervaded the dreams and nightmares of the first civilizations. Lilith first emerged in Sumerian and Akkadian myths as an intriguing figure associated with the night's mysteries and the hidden perils of existence. She appears in Sumerian texts in association with the Hulupu tree, a symbol of cosmic order planted by the goddess Inanna on the banks of the river Euphrates. When this tree was threatened by chaotic forces, Lilith was named as one of the entities inhabiting it. She was described as an untamed spirit who refused to leave her refuge. This illustrates her connection with disarray and the fear of the unknown, traits that would resonate throughout her mythological history. Lilith is often associated in Akkadian texts with Lalitu, demonic female spirits who prowl the night, luring men and threatening women and children. They were seen as personifications of the dangers that prowled after sunset, embodying human weakness against the forces of nature, as well as her connection with the night and disorder. Lilith was often linked to the wind, a natural element seen as wild and unpredictable. In Mesopotamian myths, the wind represented both vitality and destruction, a parallel to Lilith's ambiguous nature. Portrayed as a spirit drifting across deserts and plains, Lilith was pictured riding the air currents that blew at dusk, bringing with her omens and fears. This connection with the wind strengthened her image as a transgressive force capable of crossing boundaries and defying limits. The winds blowing from the unknown vastness evoked freedom and danger, qualities inherent to Lilith. Inside the Mesopotamian pantheon, Lilith held a distinct role as part of a group of secondary mythological figures, standing apart from the major gods who ruled the cosmos and human society. Whereas deities such as Inanna and Marduk held central positions in the universal order, Lilith represented the marginal forces and disruptive elements that escaped control of these superior deities. Her standing reflected the complexity of the Mesopotamian worldview, where even chaos and disorder had a clear place in the cosmic structure. Lilith adopted a certain role in the myth of the sacred tree Hulupu, as the inhabitant of the darkest and most unexplored regions of the cosmos. The sacred tree planted by Inanna was the young goddess's attempt to establish a symbol of stability and order in a world steeped in chaos. But the tree was not exempt from the forces that challenged universal harmony. As it grew, it became a haven for unruly entities, a serpent inhabiting its roots, the bird Anzu in its highest branches, and Lilith residing near its trunk, a rebellious spirit. Lilith refused to leave the tree, challenging even Inanna's authority. Her presence on the trunk epitomized the heart of the conflict between divine order and the chaotic forces that constantly threatened to emerge. When the frustrated Inanna sought help, the hero Gilgamesh came to her rescue. Arriving in the sacred garden, he set about his task of driving out the demons. Anzu and the serpent were swiftly defeated. But when Gilgamesh drew close to that seductive entity, his warrior's resolve began to fade, weakened by Lilith's tempting power. Still, Gilgamesh's determination to fulfill his task made him resist her allure, and eventually she was cast out of the garden, leaving behind only the echo of her untamed presence. This story captures the essence of Lilith, a spirit not easily subdued, an entity that thrives on the boundaries of the known and rebels against any attempt to control it. Lilith was also universally recognized. As an inhabitant of the desert, Lilith was symbolic of the barrenness and hostility of inhospitable environments. The desert, a region evoking isolation and danger, was a perfect refuge for Lilith, reinforcing her image as an untamed force disconnected from human order. Her association with these arid places gave her the role of an entity on the fringes of society, inhabiting spaces that were seen as uncharted territories of chaos. As a nocturnal spirit, Lilith embodied the deepest fears of the Mesopotamians, who perceived the darkness of the night as a vulnerable and uncertain time. She haunted dreams and terrified those who strayed outside the safety of their homes after sunset. The hazards associated with the night, from predator attacks to sudden illnesses, were personified in Lilith, who became the very manifestation of these threats. Her presence symbolized not only physical darkness, but also the psychological fears that came with it. Lilith was especially dreaded for her threat to motherhood, as a spirit connected to the wind and the night. She was believed to lurk in homes, attempting to harm mothers and their newborns. These fears gave rise to a rich array of protective practices, including the use of specific amulets to ward off her influence. Amulets against Lilith often carried inscriptions or images of deities capable of subduing evil spirits, serving as spiritual barriers to protect the most vulnerable. They were often hung in children's bedrooms or placed on doors, seen as vital objects for keeping the family safe from Lilith's reach. Lilith was said to share many traits with other demonic female spirits in Mesopotamia, especially the Lilitu. These spirits, described in Akkadian and Babylonian texts, were depicted as menacing female beings who drifted through the night. Like Lilith, the Lilitu were associated with the wind, seduction, and threats to human homes, especially to pregnant women and children. There was often a blurring of lines between Lilith and the Lilitu, as both represented chaotic and uncontrollable natural forces. The Lilitu were portrayed as attractive but deadly beings who used their beauty to lure victims, particularly lonely men traveling at night. This mixture of seduction and danger strongly echoed in Lilith, whose presence was both fascinating and terrifying. Yet while the Lilitu were often seen as agents of chaos sent by greater forces, Lilith stood apart for her independence and her resistance to being controlled, even by powerful deities like Inanna. Like other demonic or lesser spiritual entities, Lilith was not worshipped as a beneficial deity, but instead recognized and feared as an inevitable force within the universal balance. While the great gods were tied to creation, justice, and civilization, Lilith and her counterparts existed in the gray areas of existence, the deserts, the night, and the unpredictable winds. Her role was to remind humans of the frailty of order and the ever-present threat of chaos. Lilith's legacy reached far beyond Mesopotamia, influencing other cultures and traditions across centuries. Within the Jewish tradition, she was reinterpreted as Adam's first wife, a figure who rejected male authority and was therefore demonized. This change expanded her symbolism, connecting her to female independence and the transgression of social norms. Lilith resurfaced in Kabbalistic texts during the Middle Ages as a demoness who threatened pregnant women and newborns, echoing ancient Mesopotamian beliefs, but reshaped to fit new religious perspectives. She also found her way into European folk traditions, where she was often blended with witches and evil female spirits. This connection established her as a powerful archetype, representing both fear and fascination with the indomitable feminine. In modern times, she has been reclaimed as a symbol of freedom and resistance, reinterpreted by feminist movements and popular culture as an icon of empowerment. In this way, the story of Lilith, which began in the sands of Mesopotamia, has become timeless. She continues to survive in debates, art, and myth, remaining a vibrant presence in the collective imagination. Music,